We have some shocking XRP news today, as well as some other amazing news for other cryptos like the Zebec network. I want to kind of make this combo video today because both of these cryptos are working on solving payments in some degree. XRP, of course, is working to solve kind of like international or more like institutional payments. And then Zebec is really looking to kind of win payroll. So I think there's a world in which both of these can be massively successful as the crypto payments technology really just takes off over time. But what we've seen first off today so far that is frankly shocking to me, and I actually don't really know what to make of it, is news surrounding XRP and BRICS. So we're going to start off the video there, and then we'll be going through all of like what this means for XRP, how we've been doing on the price and the charts, what we're seeing for Zebec, what we're doing with the price and charts, all that type of stuff. Some interesting news for Zebec as well. But I did want to start out here talking about this news, essentially saying that newly released documents show that BRICS central banks have been working with XRP Ledger for years. I think I'm not exactly sure because I'm not sure the exact details of these documents, but this is really interesting because if BRICS is trying to work with XRP Ledger, I don't necessarily know what to make of it. Now, many of you on the surface might be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing because that means BRICS might be putting like, some of their financial infrastructure on XRP. And yeah, maybe, right? But also BRICS is like considered a very, very strong kind of ideological competitor to the US dollar. And XRP is also kind of like the de facto like US crypto, right? I mean, I would say XRP is probably like the strongest like institutionally backed US crypto. I mean, you could debate whether Bitcoin is a US crypto or not just because it's anonymous. But if you kind of get rid of that, I would say XRP is probably it. And so I really don't exactly know what to think in terms of like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I certainly don't think it's like a bad thing. It just, I wonder how this plays with like XRP's position within like the favorability, particularly in the US, if they've kind of been supporting like a competitor to the US dollar. So I'm very, very interested to see how this plays out. I'm interested to see kind of as more information comes to light here. I definitely don't think this is bearish. If anything, I think that this just shows the like universal like desire and the universal need to be on something like the XRP Ledger. But I do find it very, very interesting, just kind of the political type of positioning that's been going on here. So I'm going to be watching that very, very closely. Like, subscribe, stay tuned for all of those updates as we get more information here. But I think that's really, really interesting. So I'm super interested to kind of follow that closely. And partially with that, you can see over the past several days, we've had some really, really nice and strong moves to the upside from XRP. As I've been talking about, this kind of demand zone is what we were really watching very closely. We bounced right out of it and soared straight through this descending line that we had seen. And then of course we did get rejected by this kind of $3.07 resistance, almost exactly bouncing off of this resistance. So again, this is something that we did talk about being a very, very strong possibility. And if you want to go back to the videos a couple of days ago, I basically had kind of said exactly this, that I would be very, very surprised if we were to take this out on the first try. And there's a couple of different reasons why. First off, this has been a pretty difficult nut to crack several times in the past, as well as we are very close to the top here of the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands, while they don't, they're not 100% accurate and they don't exactly tell you where the maximum price movement can be, it's usually pretty accurate, right? I mean, I can't remember exactly, but I believe this is essentially giving you a range of what price is like 99 or 98% possible to be in, right? So if it's outside of this range, it's statistically highly unlikely that price should be there. So if it is there, it's very likely not going to stay there for a long time. You could see something like even on this most recent move up, we were here outside of the Bollinger Bands, and through a combination of price just kind of generally slowing down and then eventually kind of coming back a little bit, plus the Bollinger Bands massively starting to accelerate kind of on their slope, you can see that it always kind of comes back to true at some point, or almost always. So this is why I had said that this is going to be an incredibly difficult resistance to break, because not only did we have this otherwise very difficult level of resistance, we also had the top of the Bollinger Bands sitting right here. So I think probably the next option here is let's look to see that we can build some support around this $3 range so we don't have to crack, because the $3 range is also a pretty like strong psychological barrier. So I think the best thing for us is I'll draw a bit of a like a zone here. If we can kind of consolidate within this range, I think this is going to be probably the best case scenario. Consolidate, 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 wait for the Bollinger Bands to kind of make some moves here, wait for some price kind of momentum to recover a little bit, break above, and then ideally we can just kind of continue moving right on up and then get to this next level at the $3.36 range. That's kind of like my best case scenario here for XRP, just kind of based on what we're seeing right now. But of course, anything and everything can change. Now, moving along, we can see here on XRP, we're up 40% on our XRP trade. Really, really nice trade that we've got going so far. It's looking really nice. This is one that I'm basically just going to kind of let run for a while. I am a strong believer in kind of what we're seeing out of the moves of XRP, and I think that probably the first take profit point that I'll be looking for is kind of at this $3.36 range is probably very likely where I'll be looking. And then from there, maybe we'll look to take some more profits closer to here. And then maybe again, we'll just be looking for all-time highs. So that's what we're seeing right now. A nice little 40% move on XRP. Not bad at all though. Feeling pretty good about that. Also, we have had some other trades open. Here I will show you the trade that we have opened for Tau. We opened this just a couple of days back on the channel. I believe we talked about it here on this one of the XRP videos. If not, it was definitely on one of the others. And you can see here we've already locked and realized some profit. So basically everything else is free riding here because we've also moved the stop loss right back to our entry. So at this point, we're basically guaranteed profit. We also do have a Zebec trade open as well that I wanted to update you guys on, because last time we made a Zebec video, I know that I did discuss Zebec. We have not locked any profit yet for Zebec, but you can see up about 40% here as well. So I guess it's just a 40% kind of day here for the cryptos that we have open on trades. So you can see here the first price target that we have is about 0.0495. That's where I'm going to be looking. That's actually going to get us fully exited out. I think that's probably how I'll leave it. Maybe I'll shift it and maybe I'll put kind of a secondary take profit kind of at this like 0.059 range. We'll have to see, kind of time remains, time will tell there on that one. But overall, all of our trades looking really, really nice at this point for both Zebec as well as XRP. If we go back and we take a look at the Zebec chart though, we can see kind of what's happening. So similarly to the video we did earlier today talking about Kaspa, Zebec has been in a very kind of macro consolidationary period as well. Not quite as long as Kaspa. Kaspa's been almost in it a year now at this point, or about 9 months, I should say. Here, though, we can see kind of jumping into this consolidationary range about April. So we saw those lows coming out in April. We had that really nice move back up into like that 0.07 range. And then we saw kind of a higher low and then a lower high, and then yet again another kind of higher low here. So we've seen a nice little bounce off of that higher low. It is appearing right now, at least, that we are kind of breaking below this level of support. It was a resistance. We could see several times we failed to break it. We broke and closed, but now it does look like we may be breaking below it again. So this kind of 0.043 level of resistance is definitely proving quite difficult. Ideally, let's hope that we can see this get wicked up a little bit before the candle close, and we can kind of stay on top of this level of support. We'll have to see, but you can see that we have kind of bounced very cleanly off of these lines several different times. So the structure here for the consolidation holding quite well. This is what I'm going to be looking at very, very closely, and potentially doubling, tripling, maybe even quadrupling down on my bags that I have, just because I don't have some major leveraged positions open. I do have some spot positions, but for my leveraged positions, maybe looking to expand off of this if we bounce off of this level again, and then looking to see kind of a break and potentially even retest here. If we see something like that, I'm going to be very, very pleased with what we're seeing from like a very long-term technical structure. I drew these lines probably about a month ago, and really nothing has changed since, right? So we can see that it's respecting structure really quite well, which to me means that we could see an absolutely massive move coming here for Zebec. So this is something I'm going to be watching very, very closely. I would recommend that you watch it closely as well. Of course, I'm not going to offer any recommendations to buy or not. That is completely up to you. I do not provide financial advice. So just make sure any decisions that you are making, you make on your own accord, and you're doing your own research, because that's truly what builds conviction, not some fancy drawings on a chart. So going on into the news of the day for Zebec, you can see that they've actually are continuing to build out kind of their payroll suite and all of the different options that they can offer. We can see they've partnered with Payroll Finance to fuse real-time stablecoin payroll with on-demand payroll lending, giving businesses instant liquidity and borderless payouts. So now effectively with the Zebec network, you can pay out to anybody instantly, real-time, anywhere in the world. And you can also get kind of some of these like short-term loans if you're having some like, kind of a short-term like cash crunch or cash liquidity issues. Really, really cool. They're trying to make their product as convenient and as easily usable as possible, which I think is fantastic because that's of course what it is, right? Build a good product and people will use it. And so as long as you're continuously focused on building a good product and using technology to make it better, it's my belief that you will win over time. And this is why I'm so interested in seeing what happens with the Zebec network, because I think that they're doing a great job in terms of building their product and making sure that it's a kind of a full suite product, because payroll is quite a difficult one to tackle. And so I think they're doing a good job kind of taking these incremental steps, and ultimately, kind of like with everything else, we just have to see that adoption. The adoption will tell all. So overall, that's what I've got today. Both Zebec and XRP, I think, doing really, really interesting moves here in the market. I'm super interested to see what happens, particularly now that we are officially into alt season. This is kind of the start of when we could see things get a little wild. We'll have to see, again, is it just kind of a little bit of a fake out and a blip? Is this a start of a longer, more protracted like alt season? Who knows? Nobody does. And so anyway, I'm just going to be here updating you with more information as it comes and reacting accordingly. So overall, hopefully you found the information useful. If you did, of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It all helps. You know what to do, all that type of stuff. It does really definitely help me out a lot. Also, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So anything that you want me to see would be a great way to do so. And I really do love getting your engagement and hearing what you think about things. Believe it or not, it does impact kind of how I research things, various things that I talk about, maybe types of videos that I make. What you guys want to see does actually make a big difference to me, and it helps me kind of tailor what I make to what you guys want. So overall, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.